Bunga bunga, KB Jr. Oh, come on, really? Why is it recording for no reason? Ah, this thing has a mind of its own. But I'm just lucky it doesn't stop recording out of nowhere, okay? Hello there, welcome back to the Doctor Who Retrospective. We're on Series 2, Episode 2, Tooth and Claw. Yeah, that about sums it up. I didn't plan that, by the way. It just happened. This isn't totally bad, but it's one of those episodes that when I think of, oh, that one's next, like, I thought it was the first episode. And I was just like, oh, I don't want to watch it. That's one of the reasons why I stopped. But, you know, New Earth was actually the first episode of Series 2, and it was, you know, better than I thought it was going to be. So let's talk about this one. Was it better than I thought it was going to be? No, not really. It starts off decently with the Doctor and Rose wanting to go to 1979 to see a punk band, and end up in 1879, and they meet Queen Victoria. Yes, I love this scene though, when they get out and then they're immediately at gunpoint, and then the Doctor realizes they're in Scotland, and David Tennant gets to use his actual Scottish accent. Oh, we in Scotland! Yeah, you know, he gets to use his natural Scottish accent, and then Billy Piper tries to do it, and his fails. Really don't. And then they meet Queen Victoria. They're on, you know, the way there. There is a cold opening that sets up these monks and everything, but I don't need to talk about that. Look, everything from this point up until the werewolf shows up and there's stuff going on is just, yep, that's about it. Because there's some decent moments. I love the actress playing Queen Victoria. By the way, the Doctor introduces himself as James McCrimmon. No doubt invoking the name of Jamie McCrimmon, who was a companion to the second Doctor. Yes. And yes, I looked up Wikipedia and found that. Okay? Because I don't know much about older Doctor Who stuff, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm all-knowing, you know. But Queen Victoria is on the road, and she stops at this inn called the Torchwood. Yep. And apparently these monks have plans to have a werewolf that we find out came from outer space, because it just can't be a regular werewolf. See, that's what I have issue in some of these things. They did it in Series 1, too, where we have unexplained things, and then they just throw in, oh, actually, they're aliens. Like the ghosts in Young Quiet Dead. No, they're actually an alien race, survivors of the Time War. And here, it's not a werewolf, no, not a full werewolf, it's an alien that crash landed in the 1600s. The late 1500s, I think. Excuse me. And it's been like gestating and turning into this werewolf thing all that time. And yeah, it's an alien, because that's the best way to explain certain things, I guess. But if aliens are real, then why can't werewolves and ghosts and everything be real? Why does everything have to be aliens, right? It's like the opposite in Supernatural. If werewolves, vampires, ghosts, and all that stuff can exist, why is aliens the one thing that can't be touched? Every time you think there's aliens, it's a trickster or it's something else. It's like, what was the episode? It's fairies. It was fairies. You fight those fairies. They thought it was aliens, but it was fairies. Right? Like, yeah. Aliens is the one thing they gotta stay away from. But like, yeah, so it's opposite here. Why can't it actually be the monster? I know Doctor Who is about aliens. Sure. But, you know, Why couldn't it be a real werewolf? It's gotta be an alien. It's confusing. Also, I gotta give it up to Sir Robert for being one of those guys that, at first I'm watching this thinking, okay, he's one of those guys that's, so it starts like he's working with these monks, but it turns out he's only doing it because they're threatening his wife. And then they're gonna feed his wife to the werewolf. And Rose, for that matter. Which, by the way, because she's wearing 21st century clothes, they say she's naked. I guess I don't get how that works. She's not naked. She's just wearing different clothes. Which, makes the complaint people have about the new Doctor Who stuff, where it's like, oh, why do the Doctor has to have a signature outfit, and why are they changing their clothes to go to time periods? Because it makes fucking sense, that's why. And she's walking around in a pink shirt and coveralls. Yeah, that's not fitting of the time. The Doctor, on the other hand, is wearing a suit. So that works. Now, I'll give it to the clothes that Doctor and Ruby were wearing in the Devil's Cord would have worked in the 70s, but, whatever. But anyway, back to this one. So, through a series of weird occurrences, we find out that Prince Albert, who by this point is dead and not in a can, rest in peace. By the way, just a joke. Prince Albert's not in a can. By the way, what is Prince Albert in a can? Anyway, besides the joke. He's like, I'll look it up. I'm afraid I'll just get the joke. Anyway, so apparently Prince Albert and Sir Robert's father were in on it together. Prince Albert always wanted to cut this diamond, right, in a certain way, and he was never satisfied, so she's taking the diamond to get recut. And the monks have a plan for the werewolf to bite Queen Victoria so that the bloodline will turn into werewolves and some kind of, they control the monarchy or some shit. I don't know. I don't get it. Sorry, my nose is a little runny. Better go get it. Yeah, that's a Prince Albert in a can joke too. But apparently they had a little cohesion. They were cahooting together. And Sir Robert's father built this telescope. This is actually not a telescope, but it's supposed to use the power of the moon, focus off the diamond onto the werewolf, and hurt him, and eventually fry him. And he speaks in a perfect Scottish accent, despite coming from space. He tells him to make it brighter to kill him, and then he goes into space, and then we're left with it being implied that Queen Victoria was bitten and will become a werewolf. Now, to be fair, they do say that Queen Victoria develops a blood disorder that carries on through her bloodline, which is true. It did happen. But they're not werewolves, right? So if they're werewolves, they wouldn't age, And Prince William would not be losing his hair. Although that does explain why one of the prince's name is Harry. He's losing his hair too, I think. I don't know. Harry, werewolf. Get it? Anyway. Who knows? But, yeah, and this is also where they come up with the Torchwood Institute, and she warns, not to the Doctor because they already left, but she warns that if the Doctor should show up again, she banishes the Doctor, which means he's not allowed to be in England when she's in her reign, I guess, or in the domain of her rule. By the way, at one point, one of the guardsmen calls Sir Robert a traitor to the crown. Isn't it a traitor to the throne, right? The throne, not the crown. I don't know. I don't know British stuff. Maybe I don't know. But yeah, and so Doctor and Rose take off, and we get it named the Torchwood Institute, and then wherever the doctor should show up again, Torchwood will be there. So the Torchwood has been around since 1879. But the Doctor, who has been around humans since 1963, had never heard of it. He worked with UNIT. Would it make more sense if she created UNIT instead of Torchwood? I know Torchwood's the running name in this season, but wouldn't it make much more sense if it was UNIT she created and not Torchwood? Because watching it this time, passed through my head. Wait, if Torchwood's been around since 1879, why was it not mentioned until Christmas 2005? I know it's super secret though, sure, but the Doctor has worked with UNIT through the government for all those years. No one mentioned Torchwood at all? Maybe UNIT doesn't know. I don't know. It felt like it just should have been UNIT. But they wanted to build a spin-off. So, like I said, Season 2 is lackluster for me. Or Series 2, excuse me. It's lackluster for me when it comes to stuff. Although we are going to be in a good episode frame. 4 episodes in a row, two of which are actually 2 parts of one story. But that's fine. The next episode is actually better. Because we get to see a big fat favorite companion come back. Mickey! No. I'm speaking, of course, of K9! Okay, it's Jackie. Alright, it's Sarah Jane Smith. Am I holding the wrong... I can't even... Well, I hit myself from this side and held this side. So what if I... Ow! Again, I don't know. I'm moving backwards. I have my glasses off. But yeah, this episode was fine. It's nothing. The werewolf. Let's talk about the werewolf, okay? It's CGI. It's not bad looking CGI, but cast your mind back to Aliens of London / World War III. The Slovene, or the Raxacalafatorians. That's right. I know. They were done both practical and CGI. They were practical when they were just standing there, but CGI when they were running. They decided to do the werewolf all CGI, and I can't help but wonder if maybe they thought if they made a practical suit, it would look too much better than the CGI, whereas there's the Slovene, big yellow farting machines, so maybe... Excuse me, do you mind not farting when I'm saving the world? No, maybe it was easier to do it that way, but I don't know. A practical werewolf could have looked good. I'll tell you this, watching through this with my son, the CGI does get better, especially by now, because we watched the 2-episode premiere of Series 14, this is what it's called, and they showed dinosaurs that in the first scenes after the credits and everything. They showed the dinosaurs, and they look really good. And then later on the weekend, we watched dinosaurs on a spaceship, and they stood out like a sore thumb. They weren't terrible, but they weren't as good as the dinosaurs in that episode. By the way, love dinosaurs on a spaceship. Love me some David Bradley, by the way. That episode was good. And there were 2 Harry Potter guys in that episode, you know. Brian is the Mr. Weasley, and of course David Bradley was Mr. Filch. So yeah, but here I am not amused. That's a running gag that Rose and the Doctor trying to get Queen Victoria to say I'm not amused, and of course by the end she does. So hey, Rose gets 10 quid from the Doctor. Where was he gonna get it? He doesn't have a bank. Does he have a vault? You could have a vault on the TARDIS. Doesn't mean there's a swimming pool in there somewhere. The Doctor lands in it with the 11th Doctor. Anyway, but yeah, so this episode was fine, to be honest. Yeah, so what are your thoughts on Tooth and Claw? Leave me a comment below. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Sky, and I'll see you in the next one.